wires are dancing in the air, and any electrical wires that are still live are most likely broken and snapping, electrifying any water that they touch, which would mean almost certain death for anyone who comes in contact. All this while trees are being lifted from the ground as if they're nothing but twigs in the dirt. If you didn't have a proper home in Jamaica at this point, you were done. But even if you had a proper home, you were still done, because no matter how much preparation was done beforehand, against winds of 156 miles per hour, the country literally had no chance. And in just a few days, 49 Jamaicans came to the end of their lives. But what's even crazier is that over 500,000 people were left completely homeless. And the country's entire banana industry, which we heavily relied on for money at the time, was almost completely wiped out. The concept of not having light or water did not matter, because you literally would not have had a house to use them in. And regardless, the power lines and telephones were of course destroyed to the point of being unrecognizable. So imagine being stuck and unable to even call for help. Due to this, even after the hurricane subsides, light and water can take months to be restored to certain places, and the country itself suffers significant long-term damage. A Category 4 hurricane surpasses that of a natural disaster and becomes a national emergency.
Okay, so this is what people need to understand. A natural disaster, you understand, is a Category 3 to 2 or to 1. Category 4 is surpassing a natural disaster. This is now a national emergency. You understand? We experience a Category 5 people. 5 people. So people need to understand the significance. It's not about the body count. It's not about the amount of people that died, because Jamaica had the privilege of, I won't say it's a privilege, they just had a bit more time because the hurricane hit Haiti first. So because it hit Haiti first, they could see the devastation and could prepare a little bit. But like I said, there's only so much you can do in preparation for incident like this. And on top of that, it's something that how would I say it? It's something that's definitely going to reset the country. And there's another conversation to be had about the economy of Jamaica. There's been conversations around digitalization of America, building new smart cities, and apparently, this was always within the plan. We have to remember that, powerful people will utilize crisis to push their agenda. Historically, this has always happened. We've seen it with the pandemic and the Great Reset and certain things to do with the new gig economy or techno-feudalism and the Davos Convention. You can see all of these agendas kind of they had before the pandemic, but they utilized the crisis to push their agenda. And this is just a general rule of thumb throughout history. Powerful people will utilize crisis to essentially facilitate more power, you understand? So they will utilize crisis to push their agendas to facilitate more power. So within the midst of this, all I can say is to the Jamaican people is don't sell your land, because the Jamaica that might be rebuilt might not be for you, you understand? And so it's down to you and your community to make sure that it's okay, that's rebuilt. We can donate to the government, get governmental support, but knowing full well that will only go so far. So just know that your assets are down to you and your community to maintain and uphold, because when Jamaica is rebuilt, you want to make sure those assets are there. And if you're too short-sighted and you sell off those assets, and I know it's easier said than done from a place of comfort right here in the UK, but you sell off your assets right now and they rebuild Jamaica, best believe you're not going to be able to buy them assets back at the price you sold them. It will be gentrification. It will be a new economy that will not involve you. So you want to make sure you're still there for that economy. But yeah, we'll talk on that later and go into a bit more depth.
In fact, if we're being technical, Gilbert was barely a Category 4 and is mostly listed as a high-end Category 3.
You hear that, people? Hurricane Gilbert was barely a Category 4. Really, it was a high-end Category 3. So that's what I mean by most of what are the generations before us really would have experienced category 1 to 3. 1 to 3. And category 4 would be all the legendary hurricanes you hear about. But a category 5 is unprecedented.
Therefore, most of us have absolutely no and thus completely blocked, making travel impossible. Vehicles are either if you get hit directly, chances are your home is gone. Your car is also gone. Windows shatter instantly, sending glass shards flying through the air. And any structures or buildings that are poorly anchored are absolutely obliterated and reduced to nothing but rubble. Trees are uprooted like mere toothpicks and snapped in half, leading the streets to be filled with their debris and thus completely blocked, making travel impossible. Vehicles are either completely flipped over, crushed by debris, or swept away in the floods as if they were nothing but toys. And if a 5,000-pound car is getting this treatment, if a human were to step foot into the open, well, it's not rocket science what would happen to him. Anywhere close to the sea will almost definitely be flooded, with boats being pulled back to shore and smashed against the docks, and beachfront houses being completely swept away. And for those on land who think they're safe, rivers are overflowing, causing flash floods that sweep away everything in their path, including homes, livestock, crops, and even the roads themselves. Of course, if the trees don't stand a chance, you already know agriculture is decimated. And with the loss of bananas, sugarcane, vegetables, and livestock, food supplies are in ruins. The destruction is so thorough to whatever country becomes its victim that recovery can take not weeks, but sometimes years. Because even after the hurricane passes, the aftermath is absolutely terrifying, with debris filling the streets, collapsed buildings, and destroyed infrastructure that turns once vibrant areas into ghost towns. A heartbreaking example of this was Hurricane Dorian, which hit the Bahamas in 2019 and completely leveled everything in its path.
Big up everyone in the chat. Big up people.
What if you could have an effortless Microsoft Teams Room solution with Sure's best-in-class audio, auto-configured for you,
Big up
with
Nigeria,
intelligent
you
video?
understand? Got a whole
Now
on
you
the chat right
with
now.
IntelliMix Room Kits from Sure.
Yes, people,
Ready to deploy, easy to use.
If you want to hear what I'm
For richer
hearing, if you want to
collaboration.
see what I'm seeing,
Powered by
if you want to get the
high-performance
full extent
audio
of what I'm talking about, hop on Twitch
and
right now.
enterprise-level security and management for small to large meeting spaces. Now let's
leaving over 70 people
yes.
confirmed dead. However, that number is just the confirmation, because Hurricane Dorian actually left an additional 282 people still missing to this day. And I think at this point, we know what happened to them, which would make for over 350 bodies. And keep in mind, their population is far less than ours, with a mere 400,000 residents. If you were to multiply that by 6.5 to reach Jamaica's 2.8 million, that is a number so astounding I don't even feel comfortable reading it out in this video. But just know it's over 45 times higher than the death toll of Gilbert, the worst hurricane we have had. Granted, perhaps we can say that the population is more dense in Bahamas, or come up with other factors as to why the number could be so high. But regardless of the specifics, it's clear that the threat is orders of magnitude higher than anything we've ever seen before. And this may make you wonder, if it's really this bad, what can I even do to protect myself? Well, here's the thing. There is one saving grace of all this. Technically, all of what we just described is only the worst case scenario. It's still very possible that we're
Them all a dash, them let them whip them, all them who cut line. Said them want them wing to go to heaven to look for Christ. While them a bow down and a worship them images. Rastafari keep yelling like privilege. He is the first house killing it. Why they give life privilege in all the villages to live. So watch out. So life give praises for these infinite stages. Not stupid no wages, but Babylon sledges. Them separate man and woman, lock them in a cages. Them say more sodomy till less babies. Them say more abortion and birth control for the ladies for ages. The book of life pages. Babylon wants smear and tear off, but them sodomy a fear. To them from far with despair. No need to get there. Eyesight so crystal clear.
So these videos I want to go into a bit more critically of I felt like the governmental response preparation, and also a critical also of the man-made
Morning hurricane.
Essentially the factors that from the higher up powers that could have been controlled and dealt with, not just Jamaica but industry in general. You understand, global industry has contributed to this problem, and the things that we have to think about as a human race, you understand, as a people, can we do better to have more control of a situation such as this? But yeah, without further ado, let's get into it, people.
I spoke to from Houston says she's riding out the storm.
One of the biggest problems when hurricanes like this make landfall in Puerto Rico or Jamaica or other Caribbean islands, Caribbean nations, is that the infrastructure is not as robust to withstand such a powerful force of nature.
All right.
Cuba is another example as well.
All right. So that was my overall point about the infrastructure, and it's not just Jamaica. This is my point about the Caribbean in general. And keep in mind, Jamaica is en route to clear its debt to the IMF. It has people on the board. It's getting significant investment from Western countries. That's why they had the 2030 agenda for smart cities in Kingston in Jamaica and so forth. So it's like with all this money coming into the island, you'd think they'd put more money into public infrastructure to safeguard people's stuff. So when people say they haven't got much time to prepare for a hurricane, it's like, yeah, because communities are left on their own. You understand? And this is not to undermine the support the government is giving to the people, but looking at things from a macro scale, not a micro scale, there's a lot more they can do with the investments they're getting. But it's just that these areas are not profitable, in my opinion. Investing in the lowest common denominator